Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The warm Ibiza sun kissed Lucian's skin as he strolled along the pristine beach, his toes sinking into the soft, white sand. The 28-year-old graphic designer from Miami had always dreamed of visiting this Mediterranean paradise, and now that he was here, he felt a sense of freedom he'd never experienced before. Lucian's eyes wandered over the diverse crowd of beachgoers, taking in the vibrant atmosphere. Men and women of all shapes and sizes lounged on colorful towels, their bodies glistening with sunscreen and sea salt. What caught his attention, however, were the flowing, breezy skirts worn by many of the women. They looked so comfortable, so freeing in the summer heat. A gentle breeze ruffled Lucian's dark hair as he made his way to a beachside cafe. He ordered a fruity cocktail and settled into a chair, his gaze still fixed on the carefree individuals enjoying the sun and sea. A group of friends at a nearby table caught his eye. They were laughing and chatting animatedly, their outfits a mix of bright colors and flowing fabrics. One of the women stood up, her long, floral skirt swaying gently in the breeze. Lucian found himself mesmerized by the way the fabric moved, how it seemed to dance with each step she took. He imagined how liberating it must feel to wear something so light and airy in this balmy weather. As the day wore on, Lucian couldn't shake the image of the skirt from his mind. He finished his drink and decided to explore the local shops, hoping to distract himself from the strange feelings stirring within him. The narrow streets of Ibiza town were lined with boutiques and market stalls, each one offering a treasure trove of unique items. Lucian's feet carried him into a small clothing store, its racks filled with an array of colorful garments. His fingers trailed over soft fabrics and intricate patterns until they landed on a simple knee-length skirt in a deep blue color. He hesitated for a moment, his heart racing as he glanced around to see if anyone was watching.
"Can I help you find something?"
A friendly voice asked in accented English. Lucian jumped, startled by the shopkeeper's sudden appearance.
"Oh, I was just looking,"
he stammered, his cheeks flushing with embarrassment. The shopkeeper, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, smiled warmly.
"That skirt would look lovely on you,"
she said, gesturing to the garment Lucian had been admiring. "Would you like to try it on?" Lucian's mouth went dry. He wanted to say no, to laugh it off and leave the store, but something deep inside him urged him forward.
Yes,
I think I would," he heard himself say. The shopkeeper nodded, her smile widening as she led Lucian to a small changing room at the back of the store. She handed him the skirt and a few other items, including a flowing white blouse. "Take your time," she said, before drawing the curtain closed. Lucian's hands trembled as he removed his shorts and t-shirt. He slipped the skirt on, the soft fabric caressing his legs in a way he'd never experienced before. He pulled on the blouse, marveling at how light and airy it felt against his skin. Taking a deep breath, he turned to face the mirror. The person staring back at him was both familiar and foreign. The clothes hugged his body in all the right places, accentuating curves he never knew he had. For the first time in his life, Lucian felt beautiful. He stepped out of the changing room, his heart pounding in his chest. The shopkeeper clapped her hands together in delight. "Oh, you look wonderful!" she exclaimed. "How do you feel?" Lucian took a moment to consider the question.
"I feel like myself," he said softly, a smile spreading across his face.
He left the store with several bags, his new wardrobe carefully folded inside. As he made his way back to his hotel room, Lucian felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He couldn't wait to try on his new clothes again, but a small voice in the back of his mind whispered doubts and fears. Once in the privacy of his room, Lucian unpacked his purchases and laid them out on the bed. He changed into a flowing sundress, relishing the feeling of the soft fabric against his skin. Standing in front of the full-length mirror, he studied his reflection. The person looking back at him seemed happier, more confident than the Lucian he knew. As he gazed at his reflection, a name floated into his mind. Isabelle. It felt right, like a missing piece of a puzzle finally falling into place. Lucian, no, Isabelle, smiled at her reflection, feeling truly herself for the first time in her life. The rest of Isabelle's trip to Ibiza was a whirlwind of self-discovery. She spent her days exploring the island, trying on different outfits and experimenting with makeup. Each new experience brought her closer to understanding her true identity. On her last night in Ibiza, Isabelle decided to go out as her authentic self. She put on a stunning red dress that hugged her curves and applied her makeup with care. As she stepped out of her hotel and into the vibrant nightlife of the island, she felt a surge of confidence. The clubs were alive with music and laughter. Isabelle danced the night away, reveling in the freedom to be herself. She made new friends, shared drinks, and even flirted with a few interested parties. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen and accepted. As the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Isabelle made her way back to her hotel. She knew that returning to Miami would bring new challenges, but she was ready to face them. The person who had arrived in Ibiza as Lucian was leaving as Isabelle, forever changed by the experience. Back in Miami, Isabelle faced the daunting task of integrating her newfound identity into her everyday life. She started small, wearing subtle touches of makeup to work and incorporating more feminine elements into her wardrobe. Her colleagues at the graphic design firm noticed the changes but said nothing, their curious glances speaking volumes. One evening, as Isabelle was leaving the office, her coworker Maria approached her. "Hey, I love your new style," she said with a warm smile. "You seem happier lately." Isabelle felt a rush of relief and gratitude. "Thanks, Maria," she replied. "I feel happier too. I'm exploring some changes in my life." Maria nodded understandingly. "Well, it suits you. If you ever want to grab coffee and chat, I'm here." This small interaction gave Isabelle the courage to be more open about her journey. She began to confide in close friends, explaining her experiences in Ibiza and her desire to live authentically as Isabelle. While some were initially surprised, most were supportive and eager to help her navigate this new chapter in her life. At home, Isabelle transformed her living space to reflect her true self. She replaced the stark, minimalist decor with softer, more feminine touches. Floral curtains now adorned her windows, and her walls were painted in soothing pastel hues. Her closet, once filled with dull suits and plain t-shirts, now burst with color and variety. Each evening, Isabelle would come home from work and change into the clothes that made her feel most comfortable. She experimented with different styles, from flowing sundresses to sleek pencil skirts, finding joy in expressing herself through fashion. She spent hours in front of the mirror, practicing makeup techniques and styling her growing hair. As Isabelle became more comfortable with her identity, she decided to seek out resources and support within the transgender community. She joined online forums and local support groups, where she found a wealth of information and a network of individuals who understood her experiences. Through these connections, Isabelle learned about the various aspects of transitioning, from hormone therapy to legal name changes. She began to see a gender therapist who helped her navigate the complex emotions and challenges that came with embracing her true self. One particularly memorable session, Isabelle sat across from her therapist, Dr. Ramirez, fidgeting with the hem of her floral skirt. "I'm worried about my job," she confessed. "I want to come out at work, but I'm scared of how they'll react." Dr. Ramirez leaned forward, her expression compassionate. "That's a valid concern, Isabelle. Many people in your situation face similar fears. Have you looked into your company's policies regarding gender identity and expression?" Isabelle nodded. "I have. They seem to have inclusive policies, but it's one thing to read it on paper and another to actually live it." "That's true," Dr. Ramirez agreed. "Consider starting with HR or a trusted supervisor. They can help you navigate the process and ensure your rights are protected." Taking her therapist's advice, Isabelle scheduled a meeting with her company's HR representative. She spent the night before the meeting tossing and turning, her mind racing with all the possible outcomes. The next morning, Isabelle stood in front of her closet, carefully selecting an outfit that would help her feel confident and professional. She settled on a knee-length navy skirt, a crisp white blouse, and low heels. As she applied her makeup, she took deep breaths to calm her nerves. The HR representative, a woman named Diane, greeted Isabelle with a warm smile as she entered the office. "Good morning, Lucian. How can I help you today?" Isabelle took a deep breath. "Actually," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I wanted to talk to you about my gender identity. I'm transgender, and I'd like to begin transitioning at work. My name is Isabelle." Diane's expression softened. "Thank you for sharing that with me, Isabelle. We're committed to creating an inclusive workplace for all our employees. Let's discuss how we can support you through this process." Over the next hour, Isabelle and Diane talked through the logistics of her workplace transition. They discussed updating her email and nameplate, informing her colleagues, and ensuring she had access to appropriate restroom facilities. By the end of the meeting, Isabelle felt a weight lift from her shoulders. With the support of HR, Isabelle began the process of coming out to her coworkers. She decided to do it in stages, starting with her immediate team. She called a meeting, her heart pounding as her colleagues filed into the conference room. "Thank you all for coming," Isabelle began, her voice shaky but determined. "I have something important to share with you. I'm transgender, and I'll be transitioning here at work. My name is Isabelle, and I use she/her pronouns." The room was silent for a moment before Maria, the co-worker who had complimented her style weeks ago, spoke up. "Thank you for trusting us with this, Isabelle. We're here to support you." The rest of the team echoed Maria's sentiments, offering words of encouragement and asking thoughtful questions about how they could best support her. Isabelle felt overwhelmed with gratitude for their acceptance. As news of Isabelle's transition spread through the office, she encountered a mix of reactions. Most of her colleagues were supportive or simply carried on as usual. A few seemed uncomfortable or uncertain, but Isabelle tried to approach these situations with patience and understanding. One day, Isabelle overheard two co-workers whispering near the water cooler. "I don't get it," one of them said. "Why can't he just be happy as he is?" Isabelle felt a pang of hurt, but she took a deep breath and approached them. "I couldn't help but overhear," she said, keeping her voice calm and friendly. "I know this might be confusing, but I'm much happier living as my true self. If you have any questions, I'm always open to talking about it." The co-workers looked embarrassed, but agreed to chat with her over lunch. By the end of their conversation, while they might not have fully understood, they seemed more accepting of Isabelle's journey. As Isabelle became more comfortable living openly as herself, she decided to take the next step in her transition: hormone replacement therapy. After consulting with medical professionals and doing extensive research, she began the treatment. The changes were subtle at first: softer skin, slight changes in body fat distribution. But as the months passed, Isabelle noticed more significant transformations. Her face became more feminine, her body curves more pronounced. Each change filled her with a sense of joy and rightness. 1 year into her transition, Isabelle stood in front of her mirror, marveling at how far she'd come. The person staring back at her was undeniably feminine, her features soft, and her eyes bright with happiness. She ran her hands over the curves of her hips, still amazed by how right her body felt now. Isabelle's personal life had also undergone significant changes. Some friendships had faded, unable to withstand the shift in dynamics, but others had grown stronger. She'd also made new friends within the LGBTQ+ community, people who understood her experiences and could offer support and advice. Dating, however, remained a challenge. Isabelle had always been attracted to women, and now she found herself navigating the complex world of dating as a transgender lesbian. She'd had a few promising connections, but nothing had developed into a serious relationship yet. One Saturday afternoon, Isabelle decided to try a new coffee shop that had opened in her neighborhood. As she waited in line, she noticed a beautiful woman with curly hair and warm brown eyes standing in front of her. The woman turned, catching Isabelle's eye, and smiled. "I love your dress," the woman said, gesturing to Isabelle's floral sundress. "It's gorgeous." Isabelle felt a flutter in her stomach. "Thank you," she replied, a blush creeping up her cheeks. "I'm Isabelle." "Nice to meet you, Isabelle. I'm Carmen," the woman said, her smile widening. They chatted as they waited for their drinks, and before Isabelle knew it, they were sitting at a small table together, lost in conversation. As they talked, Isabelle felt a connection she hadn't experienced in a long time. Carmen was funny, intelligent, and easy to talk to. When the topic turned to relationships, Isabelle took a deep breath and decided to be honest. "I should tell you," she said, her heart racing. "I'm transgender. I hope that doesn't change anything, but I understand if it does." Carmen reached across the table and placed her hand on Isabelle's. "Thank you for telling me," she said softly. "It doesn't change how I feel. I like you for who you are, Isabelle." Tears of relief and happiness welled up in Isabelle's eyes. She squeezed Carmen's hand, feeling a sense of hope and possibility that she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. As Isabelle and Carmen's relationship blossomed, Isabelle found herself facing new challenges and joys. She experienced the thrill of introducing Carmen to her friends as her girlfriend, the nervousness of meeting Carmen's family, and the deep contentment of building a life with someone who truly saw and accepted her. Their relationship wasn't without its hurdles. They had to navigate the complexities of intimacy as Isabelle continued her transition, and they faced occasional discrimination when out in public together. But through it all, their bond grew stronger. 2 years into her transition, Isabelle received an exciting opportunity at work. Her company was opening a new office in New York City, and they wanted her to lead the graphic design team there. It was a significant promotion and a chance for a fresh start in a new city. Isabelle and Carmen spent long nights discussing the possibility. Moving would mean leaving behind the support system they'd built in Miami, but it also offered new opportunities for both of them. After much deliberation, they decided to take the leap. The move to New York was both exhilarating and terrifying. Isabelle threw herself into her new role at work, impressing her colleagues with her creativity and leadership skills. Carmen, a freelance writer, found inspiration in the bustling energy of the city. Their apartment, a cozy one-bedroom in Brooklyn, quickly became their sanctuary. They filled it with plants, artwork, and mementos from their life in Miami. On weekends, they explored their new neighborhood, discovering hidden gem restaurants and quaint bookshops. As Isabelle settled into her new life in New York, she realized how far she'd come from that day in Ibiza when she first tried on a skirt. She was living authentically as herself, building a career she loved, and sharing her life with someone who adored her. One crisp autumn evening, Isabelle and Carmen were walking hand in hand through Central Park. The leaves were changing colors, painting the landscape in vibrant reds and golds. They stopped by a serene lake, watching the sunset reflect off the water. Carmen turned to Isabelle, her eyes shining with love.
"You know,"
she said softly, "when I first met you in that coffee shop, I never imagined we'd end up here. But I'm so glad we did." Isabelle felt her heart swell with emotion.
"Me too,"
she replied, pulling Carmen close. "I never thought I could be this happy, this comfortable in my own skin." As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, with the New York skyline as their backdrop, Isabelle reflected on her journey. From the confused young man in Miami to the confident woman she was today, every step had led her to this moment. She thought about the challenges she'd faced and overcome, the people who had supported her along the way, and the strength she'd found within herself. Isabelle realized that while her transition had changed many things about her life, the core of who she was, her creativity, her kindness, her resilience, had always been there. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of pink and orange, Isabelle felt a profound sense of peace. She was exactly where she was meant to be, living as her true self and surrounded by love. Isabelle and Carmen made their way back to their apartment, talking and laughing as they walked through the bustling streets of New York. Their future was bright and full of possibilities, and Isabelle couldn't wait to see what it held.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!